Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal. Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
With Conan Newtron. Very shortly, we're going to be speaking with one Mr. Andrew Falkous, a.k.a. Falco of the excellent band Future of the Left, McCluskey. Very intelligent, erudite, interesting man. I highly look forward to it. And on the phone, and you can use your air quotations however you like, we have one Mr. Andrew Falkous.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Falco. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's a good day. The weather is good, and I know that means Julia will be in a better mood because she's Australian, and she's not so much affected by the seasons as entirely determined by them, you know. Then yeah, it's all good. I went for a run this morning, and ate a potato, ate some chicken from a packet. Can't beat today.
Sounds like a party, yeah.
Today is a good day. All that isn't happening is some kind of sporting event with which to distract oneself from work, and then it would be completely perfect.
Well, I could to help a little bit with that. I could do some of this. We could do some cheering, maybe. Does that make you feel like in a more sporty mood?
No, I'm not believing that. No, I'm not there in that moment.
I could try to kick you a ball, but it's going to be a while to get over there because you are indeed in the UK, which I think it's about 7 p.m. on Monday or something over there right now, right?
It's 4:30 on Thursday, as you well know.
I do know that. So I hope you don't mind, but I played a baby picture as well as a more recent one. I played a song off of the McClusky Do Dallas record, which that's been 12 years since that came out, right?
Yes, it's a long time. It does feel like several lifetimes ago. But yeah, it's a good record. So yeah, by all means play a song or two off it.
And last time I saw you guys play, you did Future Left. I'm speaking of now. You actually did play that song too. I didn't see you had a few McClusky jams that were up in the mix, as they say on the streets.
Jams in the mix. Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody says that, by the way. No, there's not a single person that says that.
Yeah, 1983 says that. No,
my dad maybe. I don't know.
When Kelson was in Future the Left, since he'd been a contemporary, certainly, we're playing and around the same venues, and if not living in the same city, then geographically quite contemporaneous. It just didn't feel entirely right that we did the McClusky songs, even just one or two in the set. But when Jimmy and Julia joined the band as fans of both of those bands, it just seemed natural and fun to start playing them. And the thing with them as songs is they're very simple and they're very easy to play. So, and they're just delightfully easy. A lot of the Future of the Left songs, not all of them, but several of them, especially for me, involve a lot of thinking and concentrating. And I can play those two songs in a happy rapture, And
which is a nice place to be. If you're gonna have a rapture, it might as well be happy.
Yeah, happy rapture. I mean, I've never really looked too deeply into the idea of the rapture or the rapture before, but it's nice. It's nice to have that kind of familiarity as well. I suppose it's the nice bookends, but they're never played with anything anything lacking.
Well, and it also seems, to me, the shows I saw you play that, it seemed like it made a lot of people really happy, too. People were very pleased to hear the songs, which is a nice place to be.
Yeah, I think as a band and artistically, sometimes you forget about such simple pleasures. How was the set,
Right, exactly.
Did it make you happy? Yes, it made me happy. Well, my job is done here, And, sometimes I think... Maybe it's just for a band in our position, at this awkward, occasionally thrilling position we are, you forget a lot about just the simple effect that music has on people, because you spend so long having to wear your half-assed businessman's hat, as to actually forget about simple things like that, or to even get to the stage where you have to mark that simple equation in your mind. People enjoying it equals it being good. Sometimes to cut through all that crap is nice.
Absolutely, and like as you mentioned, I think it is easy to kind of lose sight of the goal, which ultimately should be an expression of something that is enjoyable instead of counting nickels and dimes and per diems.
Nickels and dimes and sub nickels and dimes.
Right.
Something which is actually enjoyable.
Pound farthing,
and means that we'll die a bit less alone than everybody else. That's the plan.
Well, and that's a nice thing, and I found it interesting that you mentioned that the compositions for Future of the Left being, a bit more complex than the McCluskey stuff, and I would agree. I think you actually, especially on this last record, I think you guys did a lot of things that it seemed like you were aggressively pushing out of your comfort zone to do, and to try some different ways of working. There was a Jack, I believe, that who was someone in your crew wrote a bit of a log that I took a look at. It was like a PDF.
Oh, that was Jimmy. Yeah,
Jimmy. Sorry. Yeah. I'm referencing a PDF on a radio show that's on the internet. Could this possibly get any nerdier?
Oh, that's meta. He wrote a nice thing about the whole time, which was good. I have to say though, we don't deliberately push ourselves out of any comfort zone or anything. I think just self-evidently, if a group of musicians have got some self-respect and they're playing together for a long time, then they'll probably shy away from the simpler things which got them off at first and just move towards something which gives them some of those qualities whilst at the same time introducing interesting new elements. But then again, if you're standing around talking about that, then you're probably missing the point. You just stand there and play, and nobody has to say when a song's good. You just look at each other, and it's, again, like I said, it's self-evident.
Sure.
So I think I've been in bands sometimes with people who try to intellectualize the process or invade the process with certain aims or hypotheses, and that's never worked for me, really, because I find if a bunch of people want to write a song which sounds like Dead Kennedys or Death from Above 1979, then what they end up doing is writing a song which sounds like either of one of those two bands, and that's incredibly useful if you're in one of those bands. But if you're not, it's the opposite of useful.
Right, exactly, and it's sort of the fine middle balance between the more cerebral and the more primal, if you will. And it's interesting because there are, if someone were to look on the music on face value, they might be able to state the case it is more of an academic concern by sheer nature of the fact that you have songs that go a little bit beyond lyrically the baby, 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 touch me in my bathing suit area sort of level of lyricism. And it seems to me that it's a shame that everything is immediately put into the they might be giant school of novelty. If I think I've lost him. Let's try this again. Let's see. I think that means I'm prattling on. When I get long-winded, the Skype drops. That is the law. That is the only law. It shall be the whole law of the land. That's a shame. That was a nice discussion. Could not be more professional. Here, Protonic Reversal. Could not be more professional. I'll tell you what. Why don't I reconnect up with Mr. Andrew Falkous, and we'll listen to another Future Left song. This is called Sheena is a T-shirt salesman. Sheena is a T-shirt salesman, Future of the Left.
Well, something's broadcasting now, isn't it?
Sure is, and it's us, and we're talking right now. So I had a very long-winded statement that I was saying, which is mostly that I think the Future of the Left lyrics especially have a certain degree of lyricism that I believe I used the baby, baby school of design for the example. But it seems like for most reviewers, at least in the U.S., if you are doing anything remotely above that level of, say, the Wolf Mother type of thing, that suddenly they might be giants. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. I think you turned a good phrase, sir, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, sir. I think that there is a danger sometimes. Well, not even sometimes. Let's face it, every time. Yeah, if there's an element of even a little bit of funny in your music, then all of a sudden you can be disregarded as a novelty band, which I think is a shame. But I can't really see it changing apart from at gunpoint. And I'm not going to go around to the offices of various magazines and radio stations unless I get a huge budget to do so and put that revolution into effect. It's bizarre because you say if you look at broadsheet newspapers over here, they'll have they'll push an agenda of what you term high literature books, well written books. You'd be talking about great like now iconic television shows like the HBO shows and some shows which have been broadcast in Britain over the last few years. But when it comes to music, it seems that the trend is more of an embarrassing appropriation of whatever the young in being in their terminology are focused on. There's hilarious articles about explaining grime to a 42-year-old Neil Young fan.
Right, exactly, and everything becomes a reference to an earlier reference and a meta reference to that thing.
Yeah, and it's difficult to take it seriously, and there's a certain in rock music, there's a certain shame of being middle class. There's the search for authenticity. This is good because it's authentic. It's not as good because it's good because it's good.
Yeah, it could be authentically terrible as well.
Yeah, you can come from a poor background and you can be an entitled arsehole. You can come from a rich background and be a sympathetic human being. I come from neither, really. I come from somewhere in the middle. So I guess I'm just aiming for an actual human being.
It's a good thing to aim for.
Thank you. Well, I aim to exist within this physical realm. That's my aim every day.
Sorry, that's a little bit loud on the that is correct beep.
Was that small squirrel skull being banged onto the edge of a medium-sized glass?
Things are pretty insane here at Radio Valencia. You never know exactly what's going to happen.
Wow, and I mean wow with a capital O. So,
the most recent record, How to Stop Your Brain in an Accident. The artwork has a very the airline safety sheets is what it reminds me of, where they have here's the barf bag, here's where you put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye, like that element of kind of nondescript but very iconic artwork. And what led you to be like, that's the thing?
Well, there was this guy, Krent, who I think his real name's Steve, but he calls himself Krent, and he did some really good stuff that Paul, who did the cover of the previous album, had pointed out.
Why do you think he should be called Steve? Is that a name of his, or do you just think he looks like a Steve?
No, I think he's actually called Steve. I believe that's actually his Earth name, but his handle, as they would say on the internet, is Krent, and he does some fantastic stuff, and we gave him some rough ideas, but he was the one who came back to us with a nebulous airline idea, because I guess of how to stop your brain in an accident, and just asked him to develop that, and that's what happened. I mean, I wrote the sub Monty Python rubbish which goes with it inside the jacket, but he was pretty much responsible for everything else. I mean, we asked him to move a couple of little things around, but that was the extent of it. The credit for that must go to him, really. Well,
I think it's very iconic and interesting, but it's also it's interesting to me because I know people that are fans of Future to the Left and your work that aren't, they either are only dimly aware that there's a record at all or have never even seen the artwork. And it's something that I know it's a sign of the times that everyone's just looking at their mobile devices and combobulating the widgets for the latest app. But I find it frustrating personally that when bands I like, such as you guys' act, aren't given the proper attention, yet I somewhat lack the ability to do anything about it, other than, say, have a radio show whose stream is apparently constantly being overloaded, so I'm posting a direct link.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, like with any endeavour, you've put your heart and soul into it. Sometimes it's a bit upsetting, and most of the time it's all right, because it simply is what it's ended up being. So it would have been nicer to have the resources to have our own rehearsal space or something, which is obviously a lot more expensive in the UK than it would be in the States, just because we have such a lack of space. But we've had some really good times with it. We've had some less good times with it, but overall it's been a very very positive experience. The simple fact is that the more money you bring in from it means the more time you can devote to it, and the more risks you can take, where just as a band, and sometimes it's a little bit frustrating not able to take risks on shows because we can't afford to lose money. That's really our watchword with the band. If we do anything, we have to break even doing it, because I can't possibly subsidize the band anymore from my credit cards, amongst other things. But
because you reach a certain point, and you have real life adult concerns to deal with, as well as you have this music you're trying to make, but you have to counterbalance that.
You have to counterbalance it, but then again, nobody has made us do these stupid things to ourselves. So,
you're talking about the idea of being in a band as absurd comedy in and of itself.
Yeah, in general, yeah, because the good things sometimes become less apparent, although they are there. Sometimes you have to go searching for them, but I mean, it beats everything. Writing a new song beats everything. A great show beats everything. And these moments, even if they're only 5 or 6 a year, and they're usually a lot more than that, they make the whole thing worthwhile ultimately.
Sure, it seems you mentioned.
Sound like sorry to interrupt. I don't want to make it sound like a trek across the desert. It's not like that. But
for 17 days we moved across.
But when I think of the work which went into the band for a lot of reasons last year, and we ended up playing 20 shows. Now that is not enough of a payoff. Basically, we need to find ways to redress that balance somewhat, and when we do, then it'll be a band which is 31.9% happier than it is now.
It's a very exact number. I like your math.
Thank you. I appreciate your appreciation of my exactness.
Well, so and you touched on something that some might say harped on in previous episodes, is the different classes of bands, because there's a lot of loose talk about everything is wonderful now because everything's available for free and we're free from the tyranny of the record companies and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And yes, to a certain degree, I think you have a glut of fantastic things and a glut of absolutely horrendous things as well, more so now than ever before. And the instant availability and the ability to share things has become a wonderful thing that I wouldn't trade away.
Wonderful, terrible tool.
But exactly, there is a downside to it as well. And for bands that I think are in the Future of the Left camp of, you're not the struggling band that is trying to get their name out there, but certainly you're not doing stadium tours either.
What we're trying to say, darling, is that we're not Muse. Is that correct?
Right, indeed. And let's all thank any deity we may believe in for that.
I saw a Muse. I remember seeing a Muse live at some venue in France thing on television about 10 or 11 years ago, and I'd never heard I never heard a note of their music, and I honestly thought it was a parody. I thought it was a parody, but it turns out that somebody deliberately has that guitar sound. They have all this huge range of products and the means of customizing them at your hands, and you want to sound like an 85 quid Zoom effects box. just whatever you think of people's various sounds, it was just completely incomprehensible to me.
Yeah, it's I think the charitable way to put it would be it's an acquired taste that I have no desire to acquire.
Yeah. Mm. Okay, yeah, that is. Well, it's not charitable, is it?
Maybe charitable is being charitable.
Yeah, that's a basic. Well, we'll let that go. That's a good politician's answer.
I saw some, and this is since we've fully gone down into the meta route. I'm just going to go and mention that you delighted me the other day with a few series of tweets on the Twitter, which you may have heard of. I believe you were recapping the song, the absolutely absurd song that, if you're blissfully ignorant of the song, I'm happy for you. But the Crash Test Dummies hit.
Yeah, Crash Test Dummies. Yeah, because I did work with a guy who thought that Jay Mascis was the lead singer of the Crash Test Dummies, and it didn't seem right to correct him because I think he was susceptible to lies about Jay Mascis because he believed that this thing about, I mean, I don't care, but this thing about Jay Mascis being a skier or something. He was like a pretty competitive international skier or something.
What?
And so yeah, apparently, I don't even know if it's true or not, but anyway, this was generally accepted by my social group.
Is this a thing that's in the UK? You just tell massive lies and stories about Jay Mascis? Is that
like fact about Jay Mascis? He was ready for anything. And he was the same guy who I later told that Lenny Kravitz had been a founding member of Fugazi too. So, yeah. That was fun.
Oh,
I'm not sure if he believed me, but he didn't quite have the conviction to fully not believe me. So you can have, there's fun to be had in this world. You just got to find it.
as long as it involves hanging around with people that are very gullible about.
No, but not people who
acts.
are naturally gullible. That's the thing. If you're patient, you can plant the seeds of gullibility, and then months later strike.
It's the long con, truly.
Yeah, I remember working with a girl years ago, and we'd really worked on her gullibility for ages. And we were talking. This is about 15 years ago, about some manga anime, and the guy I was working with was saying how relatively speaking, certainly at the time, how fantastic and how realistic some of the animation was. And she said, yes, some of the voices are really realistic as well.
And did you just wait a beat before giving a look?
The voices are realistic. What do you think they draw the voices? She's like, oh yeah, I suppose. And she's saying, so do Japanese people have to learn English? And you're like, not just for anime, no.
Culturally and for other things as well.
She's a character. I think she's an office manager now. It all makes sense.
Well, Werner Hogg is probably doing very well with her, then, I would imagine.
Yeah, congratulations, everybody.
So, you have a song that we're going to I'm using this royal we. I'm the only idiot in this room doing the show, and I've used the royal we. I can't stand when people do that kind of thing. Terrible.
Yeah, it's like when any publication says we think this is the great new band. We just have the courage of your convictions and say I. I mean, you're saying we because you fully expect to have somebody sat next to you, I would assume, and there's just not. There's just a void where a person should be.
Yeah, and I'm trying to fill that void with many things, and part of it's talking to you.
Oh, yeah, that's never going to work.
So we have this. Can you tell me about this song that I'm going to play after we get done speaking?
I just started recording some stuff at home. just for the fun of recording things and making music. And over the last 2 months, I've written about 25 songs or something. It was just on Logic, so I was using the drummer app. So as a result, the drums weren't quite what I wanted. So I went to London last week and recorded 11 or 12 of the songs with my friend Stuffy for the recording. So over the next week or so, I'm going to mix them, and then I'll have a record, and then I'm going to get it mastered and put it out.
And what is the moniker for this record going to be? How will we categorize it in our record stores?
Since I was a kid, even though it sounds like a joke name, I've always wanted to be in a band called Tremendous Fence. And everything pulls me away from the name, but then takes me back to it again. It's just
Tremendous Fence. Okay.
Tremendous Fence. Yeah. It was either going to be Tremendous Fence or Otter Decision, because I couldn't imagine what kind of decision an otter or any almost entirely instinctively driven creature would make. East or west, I suppose, depending on how those relative directions smell. So yeah, I did this song that I've given you is called Christian Fitness, and I did consider that as a band name, but as Julia said, that will probably encourage the wrong reactions, and I can't be bothered with that. Although maybe that's what makes that the right choice. I don't know. I'm still a little bit undecided. The problem with a band name, like a puppy, it's not just for Christmas, it's for life. So whereas you can shake a song title or an album title in the times that they take to disappear from people's minds, it's pretty difficult with a band name, isn't it? And you look especially lame if you change your band name in the middle of coitus interruptus.
Well, especially if you change it from something that is maybe not so good to something else that's not so good. This is a different kind of not so good. I've seen that happen before, where it's like, why did you bother changing that? That mediocre name you had before was fine.
Tomorrow, Angel.
Well, and you bring up a good point too, because for me, a bad band name absolutely can ruin a band, and I think it can ruin a band in the way that I'm a complete and utter asshole, and then I will just not listen to it if I think the band name is terrible.
I struggle if I hear a bad band name, then that might make me not listen to that band. Not consciously, but I don't listen to music generally, so it's not going to be hard for me to miss a particular band. But if I hear a band with a bad name and they're good, then I seem to have developed the ability to, when I then subsequently hear that name, to think of the band. So I think that's the thing with really good bands and really good names. The words almost don't matter anymore once you've heard them. They're just a label which leads your brain to visualize and have the audio memory of the songs that they perform.
Well, sure, and I think that's it like, as a perfect example, I think Future the Left is definitely a band name that imbues what you put into it.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily. It's not. If it's from anything, I don't know what it is, and it doesn't immediately bring up, oh, that's this reality show or whatever. It's Future of the Left, like, oh, what does that mean? Well, it means that's what this band is.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it came from an article about the future of the left as in the left wing in France after I think Sarkozy got in the first time a few years ago. But even though I would say we're all left-lying individuals, there was no particularly political tie-in. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it really annoys some people, like we're claiming to be the future of art or innovation or something. And I don't know. I think they're bringing their own insecurities into that conversation and not ours.
Sure, and that can be a danger as well, for sure.
Yeah, a danger, but also a lot of fun as well, because there's nothing better than an argument.
There is nothing better than an argument, truly.
No, I mean, a controlled argument. I'm not talking about, a one with scimitars or whatever, but, a good controlled argument where is just one of the most liberating experiences as a human being.
I'm curious why you jumped to scimitars specifically, but I'm going to allow it. That seems like a very audacious choice of weapon.
I suppose, I don't know. I suppose just because of reading a lot of history, I suppose, and playing a lot of games which would involve scimitars, I suppose, and just a nice name, isn't it? Scimitar.
It is. It sounds like a very tough weapon. It's like, a scimitar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's stylish, which rather hides the bloody intent. Yeah.
Stylish, which hides the bloody intent. I like that. You could have that. You could have that be a motto, if you will, for Tremendous Fence.
Stylish with bloody intent. I tell you what, I'll put that in the ideas box because there ain't no judgment in brainstorming.
There you go. Hey, Falco, this has been wonderful. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
No problem at all, and you have a lovely day because it is very early there. And remember to take exercise.
Absolutely, and especially of the Christian variety.
Yeah, absolutely, and enjoy the song. And if you don't like it, oh well, I can't help you.
No, it's great. I actually listened to it way earlier on this morning.
I was speaking to the royal you.
Of course. Of course.
Well, surely we can have the royal you, or vous, as our French cousins would say.
Well, we know how you Brits are with your monarchy, so. Yeah.
Oh, we love him. We love. I can't believe. I mean, just being allowed to breathe some of the recycled air of those people it's a reason to exist more than procreation.
And on that note, thank you, sir.
No problem. Have a good one.
All right, take care, Falco.